So I'd like to welcome everyone officially to our third session of the Peel Toronto Education Series. Tonight we have with us from Nova Scotia, Brent Stalker. Brent has been officiating for a long time now. Brent was one of the first officials that got me started in Fredericton when I was living there, and kind of tutored under him for a while. But Brent has attended many youth sport, many CCA championships, garnering some big assignments in those tournaments. Brent's also a former FIBA card from 2008 to 2012. Currently resides in Bedford, Brent?
Yeah, in the Bedford. Yep. Okay. Chicken Burger for all those that may know what that is on this way.
So currently officiating NBL as well as youth sport basketball in Nova Scotia as well. But Brent, welcome to Ontario. Thank you for coming and joining us tonight. And we're all looking forward to your presentation tonight.
I appreciate it, Dan. Thanks very much. I just sort of wanted to start off with a little bit of a story, I guess, first. So we're gonna go way back. It's actually December of 1996, and I just started. It's a Saturday. There's a basketball tournament. I'm from Fredericton, New Brunswick originally, so FHS, Fredericton High School, has got their annual Christmas tournament on. It's the afternoon game, so all the students are there. The place is jammed. I don't know if anybody is watching the basketball, but they're all there making noise. Whichever classroom could make the most noise probably won a couple of hours off or something like that as well. So the two teams Fredericton's playing, they're playing against, I'm running down the floor, it's on a fast break. Guy starts to go to the basket and there's a bang, bang block charge. I'm on the baseline, I blow my whistle, and there's that pause. I come out with a block against the Fredericton High School kid. I pause for a second. I can feel my shoulders go down a little bit, and the place starts to go nuts, booing the whole thing. So I slowly run out to report the foul, past my partner, who's kind of giving me the, oh, are you sure look. I see the coach for Fredericton High School, Gary Young, coming up off the bench. I go to report it. I start to walk over a little bit towards Gary, and all of a sudden the place seems to just go quiet. And all that I hear in the background is, oh, Brent, this loud, that's it. That's everybody heard it. And you could hear the laughs starting all the way around. And I'm looking at Gary, and Gary's looking at me, he goes, even your mom didn't like that call. And we both turn around, and there's my mother, Marg Stocker, got her hands over her mouth, trying not to pee. She's laughing so much. And I guess the reason that I bring up this story is a lot of things. My presentation tonight is going to be on preparation of an official. And no matter how prepared you are, there's always going to be something that's going to come up along the way. I didn't think that my mom was going to turn on me at some point and kind of turn away from those sort of things. But that's what we're going to talk a little bit about here tonight. I did have a poll that's going. I'm going to close that poll out. I appreciate those that did vote on that, and we'll sort of bring that up in a little bit here from there. So first of all, I want to thank Dan and Peter and for giving me a call and asking me to be a part of this here tonight. I appreciate it. Obviously, being thought of this way to take the time. To have everybody here taking their time out of their schedule and stuff to be able to be with me and here for what it is that I have to say. Having said that, I guess what I'm going to look at tonight is my presentation. And I also want to sort of say, well, it's the last couple of weeks. You know, I had Max 2 weeks ago starting things off, and Perry started last week. And they did such a great job with this. And I said to Dan earlier this week, I said, the great thing about all of this is they actually took what I was going to say. So I hope that I'll be able to provide some feedback and some new thought process here. So just bear with me for a second. Awesome. So preparation of an official. what I really wanted to sort of look at with the learning outcomes of here tonight is this. At the end of the presentation, I'd like the participants to be able to describe the importance of having a goal for their path as a basketball referee. And I'd like them to sort of think about identifying 2 ways that you could prepare yourself as a referee to work towards achieving that goal. The reason that I went through the poll, number 1, is I want to acknowledge the experience that's on this call here tonight, and the fact that the amount of games that have been done, the amount of years that have been done on the basketball courts all over the world, all over the small towns, the big courts, the little courts, whatever it may be. And my goal here tonight is to provide my perspective on this. And my intention here is to obviously to do the best that I can in presenting, but also that if I can have one person come up with one new sort of way of thinking of things, then for me, that would be a success. All right. So I appreciate that. I will preface this by saying, you know, this is my opinion on a lot of these and the way that I do certain things. So again, it's something that I hope we can have a conversation about. And I hope you guys enjoy what we've got to go through. Today's preparation is a part of tomorrow's success. All right, so preparation, huh? Why would we choose something like this? So I thought, you know, the definition of preparation is the action or process of making something ready to use or service or getting ready for some occasion, test, or duty. Before I go into that, I kind of want to get into a couple of different things. Depending on the amount of experience and the different levels of experience that we have here, what we're looking at is, I want to kind of go back a little bit and say, why did you become a referee? You know, in my example from my 4, I've got my mom turning on me. I've got kids, you know, booing me in a way. I've got a coach that's going to yell at me. Every call that we make, you know, 50% of the people may not like it and 50% of the people are okay with it this time, right? What have you done for me lately? So why do we want to be a referee? Why do we want to be? And what I'm going to suggest to you is everybody has a different reason for becoming a referee to start with. You know, it could be for exercise. It could be for giving back to the game. It could be for the money. It could be for the camaraderie. All of those sort of things are there. And I think a person's why changes throughout their career as they go through. I've been refereeing since 1988. I was working university games in 1995, so it's been a while as we go through. For me, I found my why. This is my son Blake. I started playing basketball last year. He's 9 right now. So when I think about being away, taking the time, doing the things that I need to do to achieve the goals and the vision that I have in my basketball refereeing, I try to tie it back into the kids. Blake is a 9-year-old. My other son, Simon, is 2. My wife, Morgan, helped me through this presentation piece before, and her parting words here tonight was, don't make an ass of yourself. Thanks, honey, as we go through that. So here's hoping, right? So it's okay for whatever the reason is that you started refereeing. Thank you. First of all, it's a difficult job. It's something that's needed, but it's a thankless job a lot of times as we go through. So if you can connect the value of what it is that you're doing refereeing back to something that's important to you, then I think, in my opinion, it will help you get through some of the good times and some of the not so good times, some of the more difficult times as you go through. Next thing I want to talk a little bit about is, have you thought about what you want from refereeing basketball? All right, so when we look at this, is what we've got our vision, we've got long-term goals, we have short-term goals. And again, if you have looked at this, great. If you haven't looked at this, that's okay too. All right. So when we look at a vision is a big picture. It's something that we want to achieve. It doesn't necessarily have the goals or things put together. How do I get there? You know, I think Max said in his presentation, you know, refereeing in the Olympic final. That could be a vision. That could be something that you want to strive for. Will you get there? There's not that many people that will get there. Fortunately, in Canada, we have had some people that have gotten that opportunity to be able to work that game. But that doesn't mean that if you've got the vision that you should stop striving for it. And then when you look at those big pictures, no matter where it is that you are in your career, you want to have sort of some long-term goals. All right, what do I want to achieve from this? All right, do I want to, in the next year, do I want to be a part of working a high school basketball game if I'm only doing minor or elementary, that sort of thing? Do I want to move from one level of high school up? Do I want to work in the small college, the OCAAs? Do I want to move up into the youth sports stuff? Whatever it is that you want to do, what's the goal? All right. Once you have that as an idea or as the goal, then you can start to work your way back. And I'm not going to, most people have probably gone through goal setting, that sort of idea through the SMART goal setting. I'm not going to talk a little bit about that, but it's an idea of knowing where you need to go. All right. If you don't know where you're going to go, it's kind of like, starting on that trip without the map. Well, let's just see how this works. And that's okay too, if that's what you want to do. Then you're going to break that down into shorter term goals. All right, we're going to look at, what do I want to do today? What do I want to do in this season? What do I want to do in this block of games that I've received? How about tonight's game? What do I want to do here? And then start to look at those ideas. And what we've seen, or what some of the data looks like, as you're talking about people that are high performers or elite athletes or business people or whatever it may be, is those people that have those goals written out and laid out for them, and then they take their time to look at the goals and how can I achieve them. Those are the ones that will achieve those more often than not. And I try not to use the word success, because I'll use these quote things. I don't know if I use them correctly or not, but whatever success means to you, it's going to be something that's special to you and unique to you as well. All right. So preparation, huh? I thought this was the presentation. So if we go back to what preparation is, it's the action or the process of making something ready. The fortunate thing about basketball and basketball refereeing is we have got all kinds of very defined processes and actions. All right. We have a rule book. We have a case book. We have what you're supposed to wear, what time you're supposed to show up to a game, what time you're supposed to leave, when you're supposed to go on the court. If so-and-so does this, I do this. All of those things are there. All right. So that's the process. So when we're looking at that sort of thing, we've got the preparation. How do we prepare through process and actions to be able to connect that to the goals that we may have? Okay. So when we're looking at preparation, I'm going to suggest that there's preparation and then there's preparation with intention. All right. So intention is an act of determining mentally upon some of the actions or results. I'm going to remove the word results in there, because the results at the end of the day, really, we're not in control of those. We can build towards a result. All right. But the actions that we take on a daily basis, the small actions that we can do consistently, daily, over time, are going to create very big outcomes if we have the ability to stay with those. All right. So there's a distinction between preparing and then preparing with intention. The intention is connecting it again back to the goals that you have set for yourself. And some of the four areas, I guess, that I'm going to talk a little bit about tonight are learning, networking, practicing, and discipline. All right, and I'm going to try to connect them all with the preparation. So when we're looking at learning, one of the examples, again, we know that we need to educate ourselves and learn. We've got choices in everything that we make. We can choose to, one of the great quotes that I saw, and I try to live by this a little bit more so, is every choice that I have, is it educational or is it recreational? All right, so if I'm choosing to do something with my time or whatever it is it going to be something that's educational for me, and how can I use it and connect it? Or is it something that's going to be recreational? That's okay. We all need downtime and recreation. But know that those choices that are there are going to potentially affect some of the goals that you may have. So when we're looking at the learning side of things, I just chose this as an example, rule book, case book. We want to make sure that we're learning those things. All right. So when we look at learning, one of the things that I try to do is this, and especially for me, when I'm looking at basketball refereeing specifically, I first try to memorize. I memorize the rules. I memorize the IoTs, the terminology, the cases, the procedures. I want to memorize them. I want to be so ingrained in knowing what it is that my body just does it. The more that I can do that, the less energy I can spend or need to spend on thinking about those things. Then once I have those down, I can then move on to personalizing it, all right? Put some Brent into it. My mannerisms are different than other people's mannerisms. The energy that I put into something or not put into something, right? All of those things create who it is that we are, all right? And it will also guide people, as I'll get into a little bit later on if you're a certain personality or a certain way, or you like to do things a certain way, then if you can identify how somebody personalizes their approach to things, then you may be able to connect with those to learn from them as well. And then finally, we look at performing to your audience, all right? If I'm working a U Sport game, it's going to be much different than if I'm working my son's U10 game on a Saturday afternoon, all right? But having said that, you're going to perform different ways to it. But again, when you go back to the rules, the processes, the actions, all of those things should still be the same. Whether you're doing a minor game or a university game, the way that you approach those games should be the same, all right? Now, I have not done that, right? I try to do that throughout, but I know that every game's not going to be the same, all right? But having said that, I do want to make sure that whatever game that I'm in, that game is the most important thing, and I put the most effort that I can at that time. The next thing you want to look at is you want to look at networking. Based on your goals or the goals that you've set for yourselves and the things that you want to learn, who do I go to? Okay. Now, I preface this by, a person that successfully networks is not one that's taking all the time. They're also giving back in these situations. But the way that I want to sort of suggest here is seek out those people based on the things that you want to learn, based on the things that are connected to your goals. What do I have to do to be able to achieve this? All right. If that person's doing the level of games that I want to do, what are they doing? What can I talk to them about? All right. How can I get there so that I can help myself learn and build from it? All right. One of the things that we look at as in a lot of times as we're looking through things is most people will look at, I don't do this very well. How can I improve on the things that I don't do well? There's another side to that too, is what do I do well, and why don't I take that from doing things well to doing them very well, to doing them excellent, and continuing to build them that way. Because what you'll see sometimes in elite athletes is when they've got one thing specifically that they are excellent at or unique or elite at, all of the other things will start to sort of flow up at the same time. Okay. This one sort of got me a little bit. This was one that took me a long time to sort of get my head around. The fact that we're role models, all right, especially in this day and age where everything is on video, okay? Everywhere, anytime, any night of the basketball season or even off season, you can go onto the net, find a game, and probably see one of your buddies out there doing something. Okay. So when you're looking at a role model, here's a couple of things that I've heard over the years that sort of stuck with me. I'm going to go into a little bit deeper. People are watching. People have been told to go watch you. Dan and I were talking before, and when he started refereeing a little bit, people said, go watch Brent. And that was kind of the thing, all right? Go watch them. So you have no idea when or who is watching you and not necessarily the game as you're going through, all right? Go watch Brent, do what he does. That's all well and good, but what am I watching? What's the intention of when I'm going? So if you can say, all right, that's fine, good. Where's Brent refereeing tonight? Well, over there at that gym doing this game. Awesome. I'll go over and just sit there and watch. Well, that's all well and good, but you've been in basketball games. There's a lot going on. So what is it that I want to watch Brent do? And why should I go watch Brent? So those people that are out here and trying to move from level to level, reach out to your assigners, reach out to your education people. Ask them, say, here's what I think that I do well, or ask them, hey, what do I do well? What do I need to improve on? This is where I want to be. Awesome. Who should I go watch? Okay. Another one that I got throughout the years was when you get to the tournament, go find Brent and hang out with him. He will be good to shadow. Right? Shadow for what? Whoops. For those of you that have been to tournaments with me, you only referee one basketball game usually a day. There's 22 other hours in the day. Is that what you're watching me to shadow? I hope not. Right? So again, have the intention of what it is. And the thing that sort of got to me was this: assume every game you do, someone was sent to watch you. Okay? So when I was thinking, people would ask me throughout, it's like, well, how did you get to this level? How did you get to that? What do you do? And I had a really hard time answering those questions because I didn't really know early on. I just sort of did what I did, and I watched and I learned and I did the things, but it was difficult to explain them to somebody else. All right. One of the quotes that I like a lot, and I have this one up often, is work for it more than you talk about it. All right. If you're talking about something and it's a great idea and everything, but you never actually do anything with it, then it's deemed to be a dream, all right? So if there's something that you want, work for it. There are going to be sacrifices involved, but those sacrifices create opportunities, all right? So this, first time with PowerPoint, folks, sorry. So the third thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about is this, is practice, all right? So preparation, remember, we're preparing with intention. So those of you that know of Bruce Lee, I love this practice tree that he uses. And when you're looking at this, the opportunity is to practice, all right? One of the reasons that I took the poll early on was there's an opportunity. Sometimes we look at those that officiate maybe at higher levels of basketball may do less basketball games, all right? Which is fine, it is what it is. Or you may have somebody that's sort of doing all kinds along the way. When I was in university, I think the most games I did back in Fredericton was 200, 225. My back just hurt now saying that out loud as you go, all right? But what it is when you're looking at that, the amount of improvement that those that are doing the lower levels and trying to move up, there's an opportunity for those people to improve with a larger seeable measurement. Those that are officiating at the U Sport level or the professional level or the international level, you're at an elite level. the ability for you to improve at incrementally bigger spots is less. Still doesn't mean that you can't. All right. One of the best podcasts that I've heard was Tim Ferriss talking to Michael Phelps and Grant Hackett, two of the best swimmers of all time. And Michael Phelps, when he describes the amount of practice that he put in and some of the things that he was working towards, all he needed to do was improve by 0.01 second. And some of the finishes that he's had, that he's won in Olympics and world championships, have literally been 0.01 of a second. Did I slide forward or did my arm go forward? That was the difference between gold and silver. All right. So what I love about practicing is those that do more games have more opportunity to practice. So if you practice with intention, every game that you go into, no matter what level it is, you have the opportunity to practice. All right. So when you're looking at this tree, which I love, to the left here, are you the student? If you're the student, go practice. Right. And that can be anybody. If I want to learn, if I'm starting off my basketball refereeing career, I'm a student, I'm learning things. But there's nothing to say that those at the university level aren't still students of the game, trying to improve, trying to get to that next level, whatever it is. If you're not a student, this one I love, find the most difficult technique and go practice it. So when I relate that back to basketball refereeing, what I do there is I say, well, what am I not good at? What do I need to improve at? What does that person that's at the level that I want to be at do better than me? This. Great. Practice it. All right. We move into the middle. Is there somebody better than you? Yes. Go practice. If the answer is no, guess what? Go find somebody that's better than you. There's always somebody better than you. We're only as good as the last time we blew the whistle, the last gym that we showed up at, any of those sort of things. So keep practicing. Right? Guess what, Brent? I just finished practicing. Awesome. Go to bed. Wake up. Start practicing again. Right? Brent, I'm practicing right now. Good. Don't stop. Keep going. Okay. Why I like this is, again, it's one of those situations that this is totally up to you. You control all of these things, right? You can choose to practice or not practice. If this is your goal and you want to get there and you're not there yet, you're going to need to practice. Now in basketball, that could be a lot of different things. It could be your rule book, your case book. It could be, your fitness. It could be your health. It could be your sleep, your recovery, all of those sort of things. All right. I didn't even think about recovery up until about 7 years ago. Then I sneezed one day, pulled a muscle in my back, and thought I was having a heart attack. All right. Guess what? I need to figure out recovery. Plus, I have a 2.5-year-old, so lifting and carrying him makes life great. So when we're looking at the intention of practice, that's the next part of it. What do we do? Don't just go practice. Practice with intention. This is what I want to do. I'm not very good at the semicircle block charge. Great, go practice it. Learn it in the rule book. Find videos. Go watch games. Every zone, every board has a tech person that loves to cut video. Send them stuff. All right. I'm not going to call out anybody's name, Peter, but I'm sure you'll get that stuff to you. All right. It's the intention that's going to create the value. We only have so much time. We only have so much time that we can put into things, or that we have the energy for, right? So let's be specific in what we're practicing for to get to the end goal that we've set for ourselves. I'm sure there will be a couple of questions on that one. The last thing that I want to introduce it comes under the discipline part, preparation with intention. And this is discipline. Discipline can be, what's my commitment to this? What am I giving up? What are the things that I'm going to sacrifice to get there? Right? What are you prepared to sacrifice to be able to get to what it is that you want? A couple of examples for, all of us here have driven in bad weather. Snowstorm, middle of the night, driving 2 hours. I've now made 47 cents an hour. What am I doing? Right? We choose to do that for whatever it is. Connect it back to why you're doing it. We've got short-term memory. Next weekend, guess what we're doing? Same thing, same snowstorm. All right. Some of the things that have happened to me, as an example, I was fortunate enough to be FIBA carded international referee for 4 years. I did a trip to the University ad in Serbia, in Europe. I was away for 16 days. Right. So the time that I sacrificed being away from home, the part that I didn't say was I left the morning after I got married. All right. So my wife said, yeah, go ahead. I still don't know how much money we ended up getting in the gifts. So anybody that did give money, thank you. Right. But it's one of those situations that she met me at a basketball tournament. It was important to me. It was a goal of mine to go away, to work at the highest level. She wasn't going to take that away, or she was going to allow me to do so, right? So that was a sacrifice that we made. The second opportunity that I had for my FIBA card was to go to Toronto, do the Canadian national team versus Jamaica, 4 days, 2 games. I had to turn it down. It was the same weekend that Blake was born, my firstborn, right? So my why came back to, I would like to see my firstborn be born, my first son be born, right? So sorry, the sacrifice here is, as much as I want to work international, I'm not going to do it then. All right. So this neutral thinking is something that a lot of us do, but we may not know what it was or what it is or how to label it, whatever it may be. I got an opportunity to listen to and read this book called It Takes What It Takes by Trevor Moawad. And he is a sports psychologist, and he works with Russell Wilson, as an example. He's worked at the IGM Academy in Florida. He's worked with Alabama football, Florida State football, Georgia football. So the idea of neutral thinking is this. It's a high-performance strategy that emphasizes judgment-free thinking, not positive or negative, removes the bull and the biases. We give the past too much importance. All right, it's about now, the present. And I know Perry did a great job of talking about being present, being in the moment, right? The past is done. We can't change that. Can we learn from it? Yes. Do I want to learn from it in the middle of a basketball game? Maybe I do, maybe I don't, right? Guess what? The future hasn't happened yet. Now is now, and we control how we perceive the now. Okay. For those that are thinking this might be a little hooey, I did too, initially. I will tie this into how it works. Preparation. We as humans are built to absorb negatives easier than positives, right? Our inside voice. A negative inside voice comment is 7 times more powerful than the positive one. By saying it out loud, outside voice, verbal, it's the most powerful of the negative, how negative travels. So verbal is 10 times more powerful than nonverbal, what you're saying in your head. So if I'm saying something negative out loud, it's 7 times 10. For those mathematicians out there, I had to use a calculator. It's 70 times more powerful. So we know negative affects us. It affects us negatively. We're not quite sure if positive works. Positive works in short-term bursts, but our body is designed to go find the negative, right? So the idea is don't say stupid stuff. This Trevor Moawad got paid, I'm sure, a lot of money to work with Alabama football one year that they won the national championship. And the theme, the goal that they had for the whole year is don't say stupid shit out loud. That was it. I'm hoping that wasn't all and he got paid for that, because wow, but that's what it is. And how does this come back to us, right? When you're looking at that situation or the story that I started off with, a block charge, we've all been a part of those block charges. I blew my whistle. I had no idea what I wanted to call. That's why my shoulders went down. That's why there was a pause. I made a call. I tried to look like I was confident as I went over. The perception is, that guy is not confident in what he did. Right? I reported it. So now my next choice is this. I can let that negative thought process go through my head. Oh, geez, Brent, you're blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to say it out loud because it's 70 times more valuable to hurt me. Or I can try to pump myself up. You're better than this. You're better than this. Well, guess what's happening in that case? The ball's going up and down the floor, and maybe you miss something else. Right? So we stay in the moment at the time. And the neutral thinking is we've had experiences where we've dealt with this in the past. Let's draw from those experiences. I've had, I don't know how many block charges situations, right? I'm going to draw. I know that I've got them right. I know that I've got them wrong. That's fine. I'm going to work on the criteria for it later. So one of the things that I, for me, feel that I do very well is I'm able to take a not so good call, a not so good half, a not so good game, and put it aside for now. I can move forward, right? And it doesn't affect me. How many times has somebody done a technical foul to somebody? And I'm pissed off at that person. I don't like them. That's fine, right? I don't take it personally in most cases at the point. If they want to come talk to me after, great, no problem. Most times, right? But I'm able to move forward with that because I've had those experiences in the past. One of the best examples that he gave in the book, and I've read this a couple of times for those baseball fans out there, Boston Red Sox fans, Bill Buckner. Bill Buckner, famous for letting the 1986 ball, Mookie Wilson's ball, roll through his legs. Mets ended up winning the series. Here's the thing that was interesting about it. 19 days before the World Series, Bill Buckner's in an interview with somebody from Boston. The person asks them and says, what's the best thing that can happen about the World Series and the worst thing that can happen about the World Series? And he said, to win the World Series, worst thing that could happen, let a ball roll through my legs and let the winning run go in. Right? Was he thinking about it? Who knows? Did that affect him? Who knows? But this was a very sure, a very excellent defensive player that had a lapse of judgment in one of the biggest stages in his sport or in sport. What we say is power and automatically links to our actions, right? So what can we do to build this to help us? We draw from our experiences. At halftime, at the end of the game, later on as you're going, draw from your experiences. You know, I've had those experiences. I've talked to that. Find some video, whatever it is, and learn from it. Is the block charge situation in my example one of those ones that I don't do well at? guess what? Go back to your rule book, go back to your case book, go through it, and then get practice with it. We can't create a situation where, all right, block charge, go, right? But again, it's one of those things that when we're ready, we're not overthinking it. We're just, it happened. I had the experience. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what my criteria is. And the more practice and experience you get, the faster it's going to be. We also want to create and build habits that will provide incremental growth. How can I get better? And a lot of the times, the growth or how we're getting better at something, we can't see. Right? I went to the gym today. I lifted 50 pounds twice. I did 4 push-ups. I don't look any bigger. All right. But if I do that consistently for a long time, I may start to see some of those, but I know that it's there. Accept that this is you. Right? This is me. I referee. I know who I am. Right? I take my personality and I build it as a referee, as a father, as a business person, as whoever it may be. And then I love Henry Ford's quote, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. We have a choice. We can choose to think that we can do it, find a way to get there. Don't stop, don't quit, keep moving. Or we can say, yeah, that's pretty tough. I'm moving on to something else. And that's okay. If that's what you want to do in that situation, great. But accept it. Accept that's the choice that you had, and accept that's what you were. Is that easy? Absolutely not. I've still got things that I'm sitting here not accepting. All right. But I'll tell you what, I am a people pleaser personality. I have the certificate somewhere, right? So when Dan called me and said, I want you to do this, I said, yeah, let's do this. Perfect, no problem. When? And then I found the people that he was putting on here. I was like, ooh, okay, there's some heavy hitters there. I better go early so I can get this out of the way. Well, then, of course, Max and Perry did such an awesome job. But it's one of those situations where it's like, okay, and I'm doing something on preparation. How do I prepare myself to be better, to be a little bit better? I understand that I'm a people pleaser. That's who I am, and I can incorporate that into what I do on the basketball court. So when you're looking at what does a game, and I know I don't know what time we've got here. Okay, we've got about 3 or 4 more minutes because I do want to open this up for some discussion. What does a game look like? All right, so let's put some practical pieces into this. So what I do, and I don't do this all the time, but I try to, I want to create some intention. If I know I get my assignment today, this is my game, this is where it's going to be, these are the 2 teams, these are my partners. What I'll look at it and say is, okay, I'll evaluate it a little bit. Have I been to that gym before? Have I worked either of those teams before? Have I worked with either of these partners before? What does that look like? What's my intention for the game? Right? Show up, don't think about it. That's fine, it is what it is. Prepare myself for it. Talk to people, do different things. Great, no problem. As I'm going to the gym, I'm going to start to think about things and get myself ready. When I get to the gym, I have a routine that I go through. Max talked a little bit, I think last or 2 weeks ago, about when we're looking at a pregame. A pregame for me, and we work with a lot of people that are the same level, same people that we're working with. And we may say, oh, geez, I don't want to say the same thing over and over again to these guys. They know what I'm supposed to say. That's okay. For me, what I want to do is that helps me. A pregame helps me get my head my intention, my focus, right? Whatever happened during the day, I can now be focused on what it is that I have to do. One of the things that I'll do is before the game starts, whether it's in the introductions or the national anthem, that sort of thing, I'll take a second and kind of focus on what it is. Give myself a little talk, get myself focused. And one of the things that I try to do is this. I'll close my eyes for a second, right? Fatigue happens a lot through your eyes throughout the day. Most of our games are late at night or in the evening. So we've had our day. A lot of energy has been taken already to this point. And then I'll talk about it. I'll feel my body and I'll kind of go, okay, well, where's my tension? What am I doing? I'm going to try to release that. And then just before I open my eyes again, I set intention. I say something to myself. I try to say it out loud because saying it out loud is more important, or it's going to stick longer. And then I'm ready to work. All right? For me, that works. I can do it throughout the game. I can do it at halftime. If I've had a tough call, I may not close my eyes, but I can focus and do those sort of things. Okay. Dan, I'm going to stop there at this point, and I hope that you guys have taken something from this and that you can use, and I hope that there's some value been provided. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, and I appreciate all of you taking the time out for this as well.
Thank you very much, Brent. That was absolutely fantastic. You've definitely given people a lot of things to think about for sure going forward. And like I know a lot of people have reached out to me and said, you know, the toughest part right now is, you know, how great these sessions are, but, you know, we can't be on the court to use the information, right? So, you know, the important part, like you said, is staying prepared and making sure that we can, you know, once we do get back on the court, and I know, you know, Mike Thompson's on the call. He alluded to this 2 weeks ago. When basketball starts back up again, players are going to be ready to go. We have to be ready with them. You know, there's not going to be any waiting around. So, so if you have questions for Brent, you can either type them into the chat, or if you would like to use the hand up feature, you can do that as well. That worked out well last week. And I can call on you. I can call on you that way.
Yeah, if you want to do that, Dan, that'd be great. Just, you know, call whoever, or if there are some chat questions in there.
I noticed that a couple people had posted if the presentation was available, that they could use the slides for their local board. I'll leave that up to you. It's your baby. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wasn't going to say this before, but this is the first time I put together this presentation. I've had bits and pieces of it. For sure. So yes, I absolutely don't mind in sharing it with that. If there is, you know, if there's an opportunity that you would like me to try it again, I would love to practice this again and go through that. So if there is an opportunity and it fits into schedules and stuff, then absolutely. Yeah, I'd be open to that. Again, I'm a people pleaser, so I'll probably say yes. So
I have a feeling that that Mike Thompson might use you in May. I don't know, but you might get another phone call. One question that popped up here in the chat from Terrence is how do you incorporate a people-pleasing personality into your officiating on the court, so during play?
Yeah, it's taken me a long time to do that, and one of the things, it was interesting because I can't remember the years so much, but I'll say it was like 2005, 2008, something like that. I was fortunate enough to go to some nice nationals, get some good assignments, that sort of idea. And one of the things that I was saying to myself at the time was, I literally, and I said this out loud, I said, I'm the best U2 in the country at that time, right? And what I would say to that is, you can put me in any game with anybody, and I would change my game to fit in. And as I looked at that from sort of a people-pleasing personality, it was all well and good at the time, but it really took away from me in my confidence, right? So I hate confrontation. I'm a people pleaser, that sort of idea, but yet I'm a basketball official, right? So it seems a little bit, it's where I practice some of the things to hopefully take into my life on the other side. For me, what I would do is, I'm rambling a little bit here on this. You know what? Let me come up with a couple things. I'm going to send that to Dan. My email, and even just throw that in the I'll throw that in the chat. There is brent5stalker@gmail.com. Send me some questions. I do want to actually come up with that, and that was one thing that I had in the presentation, but I took it out because I was hoping that question would come up, but I will get an answer for it.
Question from Max. It says, as a referee, I worked with you. You're very calm and steady. What is your thought process when you give a tee, and to be as calm as usual? Any tricks you have that you want to share with all of us?
For me, I look at the technical foul as a tool. It's a tool that we can use in the basketball game. It's not one that should be used, in my opinion, as a penalty for us. I don't like this guy. I'm going to go after him. That's it. Right now, if I had a short fuse in the past, absolutely. But for me, it's like, you know what? I want to use this. That wasn't a basketball thing. So I try to use the neutral thinking in the fact that, you know what, the pass is a pass. I don't even care if this person, I teed them in the past or I don't like them. At this time right here, right now, they have a clean slate with it. All right.
Okay.
I try to look at it that way, and I'm thinking those things as I go through it. And then when I get the opportunity to sort of walk away, report it, and come back, I've had more time to think about that and not go to the negative side of what that person did.
Excellent.
Hope that helps, Max.
I had a question that came through the chat as well. How do you break down, or what is your process of breaking down your game performance after each game?
I will, again, I try to go into a game with some intention, some things that I'm working on. Every game that I go into, I want to practice something. It doesn't matter if it's a lower level game or a higher level game. I feel that, you know, those of you that are doing a lot of games, and maybe you're doing games that are like, wow, I can do this in my sleep type of idea, don't do that. Okay. All right. Find something before you go in. This is what I want to practice. This is what the intention today is to work on this. Then at the end of the game, what I'll do is I'll use, you know, the CDOC has the stop start model. I've used in the past. I'll use that one. I'll also use the stop light as well. I'll look at the game and I'll say, okay, what do I stop doing? What do I need to stop doing? Mm-hmm. What was I good at? And I think it's important that we say, you know, we include the what was I good at today? And then of course the yellow light is, okay, what do I need to improve on? What do I need? And then where do I get that? Okay. I do overthink those a lot of the times. I'll sort of talk myself through, and I'll lean more towards the yellow red if I'm looking at the stop sign side of ideas. So for me, that's a work in progress a little bit as well. Don't be so hard on yourself. There's another opportunity for you to practice that. Hopefully that helped.
And I like the fact that you said, you know, you continue to work on yourself, and you've been officiating for almost 27 years now. Yeah. So, I mean, that's an important thing. I mean, yeah. You always have to continue to strive to find those ways to improve yourself, which is good. Another question that came through was, how do you prepare yourself to work with different personalities of people's at different levels?
Mm-hmm. Similar to what it was before. So, you know, when I do get a basketball game, when I'm assigned a game, I will evaluate those things. So I'll evaluate, you know, my partners are certainly one of them. What gym am I going to? What two teams are there? What challenges may or may not be there with each of those teams? Have I worked with this person before? You know, if I've got an idea of what that looks like, then one of the great things about basketball is we have those processes. We have the rules, we have the casebook, we have the procedures that we're supposed to do in the terminology. If I'm working with new people, that's what I do. I go back to, as much as I can, the memorization of those things. All right. If I know that I'm working with somebody that is, if I know that I'm working with somebody that is, you know, maybe not as confident, or somebody that's quite confident, then yeah, I'll work to those. I still will sort of moderate or mediate in between, but I want to empower the other person as well, as much as possible. I want them to do what it is that they do. It's okay to fail. It's okay to not do that. I will have your back. Right? We'll talk about it later, but in the moment, in the time, I am going to have your back, and I'm going to try to pick you up if that's needed. Or I'll try to bring you down if that's needed as well, because sometimes we can get too high.
Absolutely.
Okay. So again, I think it comes into that planning, that intention, that find out what it is. And if I don't have information on it, I'll go back to those, or I'll seek out the information if I can. But I take information from other people with a grain of salt. Obviously, everybody's got their own perception on how things were or went.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Question coming in from your provincial buddy, Mr. Clow. It says in the question, it says, you mentioned the importance of staying in the now for yourself, especially when you're moving on from a mistake. Any advice around what you might say to a partner if they're clearly having trouble moving on from a past play?
Yeah, absolutely. And Steve, a lot of the stuff that I'm taking from here is from Brendan Busher's stuff, the high performance habits. So if you ever have a chance to look at that book, the High Performance Habits by Brendan Busher, a lot of those things I incorporate into my game, as well as other things. So yeah, it's. Ask me the question again, Dan. Sorry.
So more so asking around, what would you want to say to a partner if they're having a really hard time getting past a tough call on the game or a hard play?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I would do is I would go up to them. I would kind of gauge them first quickly. You know, where are you at? What's going on here? Right. I can see that you're, you know, we've got some more things to go on. Right. Whatever happened. Okay. I need you to do what you do. And I'm going to try to give them something positive. Right. Don't have that as being your definition. Don't have that play right there as defining this game. You're better than that. Those are a couple things that I would say. I say that to players too. Right? You're better than that. What are you reaching in for? You're better than that. You'd be surprised at how many times they'll sort of have that look. Okay. The other thing that I'll say to them is, don't make me think. If I have to think about something, I'll probably overthink it and then pause or maybe get something wrong. But let's get back in this. We'll talk about it later. I need you here now.
Excellent. I'll give you the opportunity, if you look in the chat, Brent. Katrina from up north put an excellent comment in there, and I really like. I'm not going to read it, but I'll give you the opportunity to read it because it's really good.
Yep.
She did tack a question onto it at the end. What are specific things you would recommend to a very new official watching during a shadowing experience official? So what kind of, I know you talked about, you know, if you're going to shadow with a purpose. So what would be the things that you would say to watch for?
Here's what if you want to take it deeper a little bit, evaluate yourself first, right? And say, okay, well, what are some things that I know that I need to do better at, right? And that's what I would look to. You know, if I want to watch how that person deals with this, whether it's situational things, if it's rules and positioning and that sort of stuff, then great, no problem. but you should have the intention of, okay, I don't do very well. My last couple of evaluations have been, I don't move well as a trail. Well, what does that mean? Right? And make sure that your evaluators and stuff give you specific pieces, even if it's later. All right. So have an idea and don't really go into a game with anything more than 2 or 3 at the most things that you want to watch. All right. And then when you're doing that, you're probably going to see the presence that's there, how they handle certain situations. Those will come up in a game. Right? They may or they may not, but if they do, it's like, oh, okay, I like the way that they did that. All right. Have your phone, make some voice memos or some recordings there, write something down. However it is that you take notes, take a little bit of notes, right? Most games are probably on some sort of, you'll be able to see some sort of video out of it. If not, just videotape a little bit of it as well. Okay. So again, that's kind of it's not a specific answer, but again, I think for what a lot of us do is, as I mentioned, is, go watch Brent. He's at the high school game tonight. Just go watch him and be like him. Or see what you like of it. Well, that doesn't really help me, right? Well, what does Brent do well? Well, Brent does a good job at I don't know, trail movement. Great. Okay, let's go watch that. That can help me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hopefully that helps a little bit. I know it's a little wishy-washy, but again, bring it back to yourself and then find the people that do what you want to improve on better than you, and then go watch.
And I think that's important. And I kind of laugh a little bit as you keep on saying that, go watch Brent, because I literally grew up going to watch Brent. But, you want, like you said, you want to have that plan in place so that when you go in, and I mean, for me, I remember watching people like yourself. Dave McManus is another name that pops up to me that, for me, I would watch your demeanor on the court. And, Max alluded to that. No matter what happened in a game, sometimes I think people had to check your pulse to make sure that you were still kicking around on the floor. But
yeah,
to me, that was one of the big things that I took out of that, is that, you can't get here and you can't get here. You have to kind of stay here in the middle. And I mean, absolutely. If you have a plan going in to that shadowing experience, I think that's where you're going to take more out of it versus, the let's go watch Brent approach and just watch Brent and then go home and say, well, great, we watched Brent, and then, like you said, what do we take out of that, right?
Well, what do I get from that? Absolutely. And it's funny that you mentioned the sort of the check my pulse type of idea. And it goes both ways, right? I've had evaluators say, you need to put some fire into this. Mm-hmm. It looks like you don't care out there.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I had one very respected person that evaluated in 2 different basketball tournaments. And I got completely opposite to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you need to catch fire, man. You need to do this, you need to do that. And then in the second tournament, I did what I thought he wanted me from the first tournament. Mm-hmm. And that didn't go as well either. So
keep showing.
But again, it is, you take what you can from it. And one of the things that's been that I feel that I've done well is I will take feedback and apply it. Mm-hmm. All right. If you ask me to do it or tell me to do it this way, and that's what you want, I will try it. Mm-hmm. Right. I will try it, and then I'll try it one more time. And then I've got some information that I can evaluate it based on. And I may incorporate it, I may not.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's fair. Good answer. We'll do a last call for questions here. If anyone has a question they want to pose, like I said, you can use the hand up button if you haven't put it into the chat. The other thing that I did do in the chat earlier as well is, I know there's been a number of people emailing and asking me about future dates for sessions. I did type those into the chat. So if you scroll back up through the chat before you log off, those dates are all listed there. Everything is going to be a 7:30 start local time for us. The only one that will not be is the one on April the 21st, which is Jamie Jennings will be joining us that night from Newfoundland. So he's got an extra half hour on everyone else out east. So we're going to start a little bit earlier with him. But Brent, thank you so much for taking time to do this. I know it's a little later night for you, but just really appreciate you taking the time and coming and chatting with us, and definitely giving us some stuff to think about going forward.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, and I appreciate what you've done, Dan, with this. And Peter, thank you for all the technical stuff as well. And I appreciate everybody for taking the time out here tonight. And again, I hope that you can take something away to practice with and go from there.